Alright, let's kick this off with a bang.
That's not a very good bang.
No, that's what I've been told.
That's what all the ladies say.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fakt Vs Ficktion. I am always your host. Well, not always your host. This week's host, Matt, and I'm as always joined with my three other very esteemed colleagues.
No one's ever called us that before.
Well, you know.
I've been called it before, thanks.
I definitely called John it while I was drunk once.
Definitely. I'm sometimes John, so yeah, there we are.
I'm sometimes Tom.
I'm 90% Corby.
I feel like I should have prompted you to introduce yourselves in a less stilted and awkward manner.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's
Roll with
It's all
it.
good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Ignore it. It's fine. This week is Fact Week. Me and John are going to try and compete with the Langford Fiction Week, maybe.
Hey, quality versus quantity, mate. It's fine.
Exactly.
Disclaimer, I was wrong. I'm 62.5% Corby, because that's how long my name
I
is.
was going to say, how are you measuring this?
5 out of the 8 characters in my name are Corby.
That doesn't bode well. I'm John. It's a short
God.
name.
And I'm a third Tom.
I'm not even going to try and calculate, because my surname is definitely longer.
33.3 recurring.
Matt, definitely not Belgium last name, yes. Anyway.
It's not Belgian, it's Swiss. Get it right.
Sure it is, you filthy Belgian.
He's not even close to the Alps.
Go back to the Congo.
Oh.
And there goes the Belgian listenership.
Yeah, let's just not say what week this is recording. We'll be fine. Right, let's continue. Right.
Speaking of
I think-
facts,
Well, me and John do indeed have two hopefully stellar set of factual topics for you today. But first,
I got
Corby, I
fruit.
believe you've got what?
Fruit.
You've got fruit.
Fruit fact.
Oh my
Okay.
god,
I sure hope
Back
you've
from
got
the
veg,
factory.
Matt.
I don't.
We'll make a salad.
I'll clock out now then, shall I?
Oh god. Tom's hatred of vegetables and fruit comes to the fore. Speaking of
that a
Mr.
dog?
Corby, I believe
Yes?
you were actually going to tell us about a dream you had last night.
Oh, Christ.
Off
gotta be
camera,
really
with
bad
the
fact week.
reference, we're discussing.
You really want me to open with
Yes,
this?
I do, because we were discussing dreams off camera before recording, and you said yours beat us all, so I'd love for you to share it with the listeners.
Mine is... It matches my personality, that's all I'll say. So
Yeah.
I actually, woke... Because, for those of you that don't know, since quarantine started, I have gotten into a habit of waking up, 3 times a day and going back to sleep. So, this happened where I woke up at, 5 in the morning, looked at my clock, thought, fuck that, I'm going back to bed. And then, you went to that REM sleep state?
Yes.
You have that, but it's not long enough to carry on for a cycle until you wake up again. So it's I'm semi-conscious of, and that's when all the weird shit
hypnagogic
happens.
state. I
Yeah.
think it's called, yeah.
So I would just like to read you the words I have written down on this.
You wrote it down?
Yeah, because I'm like, there's no way I will remember all of these details.
If it's worthy of writing down, it's a good one.
So, this is exactly the way I've written it down. There's a man dressed as an otter for some reason. The otter will make sense later. I don't know.
I think I caused that.
You might have. I don't know. So there's a man dressed as an otter who tries to come into my old high school, and then he attempts to hypnotize everyone into trying to kidnap someone else, which begs me the question in the first place: why would you not just hypnotize the one person you want to kidnap? But no, his brilliant scheme was hypnotize everyone else to try and form an army to kidnap this one guy. And for some reason I was also there, but I wasn't part of the hypnotized army.
It sounds like a terrible pitch for an SNL sketch.
I'm not fucking done. I'm not done.
More!
As I said, he attempts to try and kidnap this other guy and me by proxy because I'm not part of the hypnotized army. But then there's definitely a weird section where an exchange happens and I don't know what happens after that, but I remember like seeing he was impaled by a sewing needle, so I pulled the sewing
big
needle
was the
out of his
needle?
body. I
Which
don't
bit
know,
of
but
him?
I pulled the sewing needle out of his body, and the hypnosis over everyone else just stops.
Ah, right. Which part
So,
of it was in?
so the needle was giving him the power. I think it was like his lower back area, like in
Jesus.
his back. I don't
Just
know
a
why.
really nasty
He's sleeping with a
acupuncture
voodoo
action and now
doll?
has superpowers.
I know, yeah, so I pulled the sewing needle out of it, and then the hypnosis just stops, and everyone else just then swarms the guy who hypnotized them.
I like
wave
it.
of-
Everyone beat up that otter.
I was going to say like a wave of crabs, which I've never seen a wave of crabs
the-
kill someone.
the-
But otters do eat crabs, so it makes sense that the crab
I'm
would
gonna
rise
say,
up and
the
kill
only
the otter.
reason I assume he was like dressed as an otter because somewhere in the swarming of everyone else and the carrying and then like everyone carried on with the school life. We were going to go up some stairs to a different part of a building and we were like, oh, you can't go up there. There's a rogue otter about, and we were all like, he's back. And it's just like that's when I woke up.
As if it's a casual
Wow,
statement
what's
to be
that?
made.
You set yourself up for a dream sequel.
I really did.
And also, I like in this that you're only an important character in this because you were initially overlooked.
Yeah.
It's very weird. I'm not meaning to be this like criticizing of a dream, but
You know what it
I
is?
feel-
It sounds like one of those B movies you get on like horror channels.
oh, like,
that, like someone was
Octopus
trying to
versus
rip off
Werewolf.
like Nightmare
I
on
hadn't-
Elm Street,
Spiderquake.
like
Oh.
that kind of thing.
I know, except if Freddy Krueger was an otter.
It's Freddy Krueger or the Candyman as an otter.
I need to watch actually one of those. They're called Octopus versus Werewolf.
That sounds
That
amazing.
sounds great.
It is.
Anyway,
God.
these are the thoughts in my mind
Mm.
that happen when I sleep.
I feel like we should
Okay.
get someone to analyze that dream.
If anyone listening to this in the comments wants to analyze me, please
If
go
anyone's a
ahead.
Professional psychiatrist or dream analyst.
We're not gonna get professional. Hell, I'll take a shaman at this point. It'll be great.
Or we get someone who's an expert in Freudian psychology
saying
to analyze him.
Not saying there
Hell,
aren't-
just
there isn't
just
such thing as
anyone
a
who's an
professional
otter
shaman.
expert either.
Tom, do you secretly have lutrophobia?
I don't, possibly. I don't.
I think I know a masculine man. I think we can get this on. Anyway.
Oh, I think that's an idea.
I have told you before about the one with the dragon.
No.
Had I
We have to go
not?
into that now.
Do
It's
we have...
it's a lot shorter than the otter man in the school, but
Fine.
Call me curious. Let's hear that one.
I don't know. But there was basically all I remember is that there was me doing battle with the dragon, and then like all I remember is running up the side of a building and then slicing the dragon open. Then his innards were ice cream. And then everyone ate the ice cream afterwards, and it was a good time.
Were you watching Adventure Time at the time?
No,
This is so bloody
It
anime.
does sound like the plot to Adventure Time.
Like
Jump
that
the
was
side of a
Cream
building
Dragon.
and do like the jumping slash.
Even your dreams are anime.
I can't help it. It's just the only kind of media I inject into my eyeballs at this point.
Just fire a syringe. Oh, it's like Prey. You just shove the syringe in your eye,
How's that happen?
Then it turns out the syringe was an alien.
and you wake up. None of this is real.
And you
it's
wake
the
up to sleep. Dun, 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 dun.
Perfect segue
Anyway.
into Tom's or John's fruity facts.
Well, I was going to do my my hypothetical question.
I would like to just indulge in this just because I've asked too many dumb questions and told
Yeah.
too many dumb
This
stories.
is less dumb. It's more like how you see yourself, basically. Like I was thinking about this the other day after watching, I think, Ghost in the Shell. If you could get some sort of like superpower, but it would only came from like, but you're more than normal. But it only came from either you only had the choice of it coming from being mutant powers or like robot powers you've got from like cybernetics. What would you pick? With the caveat that it has to be something like, with the caveat that it's like it has to be kind of visible on you. Like it's something that you could probably cover up with a jacket, but otherwise people can clearly tell you've got something up with you. There's something funky going on with that man's spleen body.
How
Whatever.
much do people dislike mutants in
Do we
this
get to
scenario?
choose what the power is? Or is
Yeah,
it
Well, kind
Is
of,
it
yeah.
completely
but
random?
It's not going to be like, hey, I got telekinesis now, but I mean like whatever feasibly, like gills or whatever the hell, or like super strength and robot arm, or just getting extra muscle mass, or any.
I'd take gills. I have a fear of drowning in water where I can't see the bottom, so I'll take gills, thanks. I'll have them behind my ears because I can hide them with my long hair. Gonna Kevin Costner this shit. What a world, here I come.
Down with. I was gonna say, on the level of gills, like I understand because I also don't like deep water, but it's more for the weird creatures that lurk within.
Oh, you mean like
You
So
could
it's
become one of those
less a
creatures.
drowning thing, and it's more like I don't like sharks or eels or anything like.
eels up inside you.
To be honest, it's more likely to be the squids that get you.
I mean, yes.
Them big boys.
Look, I just don't like eels because they're snakes underwater, and you've taken two things I hate and combined them into one.
So
Plus,
the snakes are made
more
of
eels have
water?
like that second mouth in the back of their throat, like Alien.
Why would you tell him that? If you didn't know already.
Yeah, the initial mouth of Moriel bites you. The second mouth comes out from the back of the throat, grabs it, and drags it back down.
Well,
It's
the more you
Tom,
know.
I hope you're
That's
not
amore.
scared of the sea anymore.
Yeah.
When you're
It's a moray. Because it's an eel.
You
When
see,
the
I
jaws open wide and there's more jaws inside. That's a more.
That's a
Moray.
moray.
You see, I'd probably pick. I think I'd probably more lean towards the robotic side of things. If you get
Oh, definitely.
but then I was watching this and I thought, well, you'd have to pick bloody carefully because I was watching Ghost in the Shell and there was a bit where like some people basically were having some real issues because basically their robot bits were no longer supported by the operating system.
That's literally what I was thinking.
Yeah,
about.
that
How
is-
if you
that is a problem.
don't know how
That is
to
a problem.
fix, if you don't know how to fix your parts,
Yeah.
or you become outdated, you're fucked.
Or if you just enter like a very cold area, you freeze up.
Presumably, you've hardened your implants against extreme weather conditions.
do you want to know
It
like
rains
the
and
ultimate?
You die.
Do you want to know like the?
I wasn't thinking rain. I was thinking like icy tundra.
Why are you in icy tundra?
You might
To be
have to
fair-
go there.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure
Mission might
gills would
involve
get you killed in icy tundra as well.
A gill
Very
in
true.
rain, fine.
I was gonna
Yeah, I
say, do
reckon
you want
I'd
to know
probably
like
go mutation as well.
you don't want to know the ultimate like bullshit robotics thing to have put in you, which I've just thought of.
What?
You have like implants in your legs so that it makes sure that you can never trip over yourself again.
Oh,
That was
that
actually
is
very useful.
awesome.
Tom needs those. He really does.
He's tripped over and he sat down. Tom, how'd you do it?
Or what about like a calculator implant so you can just do basic maths instantly?
Not advanced maths.
For a second, I thought you meant like. For a second, I thought you meant
Only
like
basic
literally.
maths.
Only basic.
For a second, I thought you meant literally like a calculator just like stuck in your wrist.
A
Just so you
calculator
could, like...
implanted in his forehead.
I mean, I wouldn't have it on my wrist. I'd always mistake it for a watch.
What time
I
is
had a
it?
great.
What's the
I had
time?
a,
Square root of 45.
It tells you the time
mean
in
I'm
foreign
late?
mathematical equations.
But yeah, mutations. I was thinking more like if anyone's seen The Boys, like the Deep from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But,
most of us would prefer robot parts.
Well, I think it's an even 50-50 split. Me and Tom on mutations, John and Corby on robotics. It's the start of a blood war, guys.
Because I never want to fall over again.
I wouldn't mind having wings as a mutation.
Like
they're
angel
like
wings,
tiny wings.
raven wings, bat wings, subtle wings, dragonfly
Bat
wings,
or dragon-like wings. That sort
Chicken
of thing.
wings.
I know, but
bat wings that are the size of a bat's
but
wings.
wings
so
are a
they're
pain in the
absolutely
arse, 'cause-
useless.
but you have to remember,
I
Tom.
would
You have
have
to
to make
sleep
some
on.
major adjustments to my fashion.
You would
That
have to
need-
sleep on your front for the rest of life.
You would have to sleep on your front.
Surely you could lay on your side.
Yeah.
Every time you roll over, you just scream in pain.
Oh God! The brittle bones.
Oh god, because they'd be hollow.
Yeah, but the
So
rest of my
where's
bones aren't.
Where's CCC? Part robot. Jitpick. Jitpick.
Is this so you can live out your fantasy of being Kip, Tom?
Oh Christ.
His Aarakocra character.
Anyway.
Anyway,
For listeners, Aarakocra are a D&D playable race. They're bird people, and I played one once. Its name was Kip.
he was bird person.
He was
a
New Zealand.
New Zealand bird
was-
person.
He also had the fear of flying. I
I
think.
had
or
a fear of
heights.
flying. Yes.
Yeah.
All good stuff. Anyway, before we get drowned any further in that conversation and go to a dark place we don't want to go.
That's why he got the gills.
John, take us away with your fruity facts.
Right. Now, have y'all ever heard of a banana republic?
Oh no! No!
Matthew's now having flashbacks to his time in the Banana Republic.
Not Venezuela.
Oh, actually, no, it's somewhat a bit different. This is more Central America than South America.
Oh god.
So it's all right. You're not quite there. It's not Nicaragua. You'll be all right.
Flashbacks
Anyway.
and PTSD.
But yeah, basically, they're basically banana republics are they're politically unstable countries that their economy is basically dependent on just exportation of just one or two products, such as coffee, bananas, that kind of thing. It got coined because bananas were the big thing back in the early 1900s. What happened was there were several, basically places like Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica. They were very, very poor at the time. Partly because the Americans had just gone just like and basically
Manifest destiny.
and
Classic
got nicked stuff and they were particularly poor and they owed a lot of international debt. What happened was several companies came along and just started buying up lots of land in these countries to grow bananas on, but also just to basically completely dominate trade in the area. It got particularly bad in certain cases. Like there's a company called United Fruit Company, which is obviously they at one point I think owned 3.5 million acres of bloody land.
Jesus.
I believe.
How many acres of land was there in the country?
Here we go. Well, these are small countries. Like, at one point they owned the railroads, they owned the ports, they owned the post office, they owned everything because they're just
not the post office.
Yeah,
all mailed by bananas.
But I'm going to go more into a particular fellow by the name of Samuel Zemurray. Who was actually he's an interesting guy. He was born in Bessarabia at the time.
In Bestarabia.
Bestarabia.
Yes, Bessarabia. We have the biggest camels. Anyway,
The award for Bessarabia goes to Bessarabia.
What the fuck?
No, that wasn't his name. His name was let's see, it was Shmuel. I can't recall it right now. It's you're listening here somewhere. Anyway, Sam Zemurray. Yeah, there. Shmuel Zemurray, which is great. He basically started up because there was a big business at the time because refrigeration hadn't been 100% perfected yet. So they were literally shipping bananas from places like Honduras, Costa Rica, Guatemala, up to America. But a lot of them were going overripe by the time they got there.
Yeah, they'd spoil.
Yeah. So he basically did the thing where when they got there, the ships they were just like anything that was massively overripe, they just dumped because they're just like we can't sell it.
Just like over the side into like the bay.
Pretty much.
Jesus.
And just chucked it in a pit somewhere. But he basically he saw an opening there where basically okay, I'm just gonna go and see if I can just buy the right bananas off them for fairly cheap. And he did, and he just sold them at just a hell of a lot cheaper to the local area. And people did buy them because they were a hell of a lot cheaper. So
so wait, did he basically take the overripe ones off their hands for free?
Almost, yeah. He or like at a very limited price, a lot
and
smaller
then
price.
Essentially sell them as low as he wanted, assuming it wasn't below that price, and still make a profit.
Yes, yeah.
Stonks.
So he started up that.
Strong banana economics.
Banan stonk.
Banana stonk.
Yeah, he did that for a couple of years, and he was very young when he did this. He was he started that when he was just pretty much got there at the age of 18. When he was 21, he'd banked $100,000. Yeah.
Back in the 1900s, that's a fucking lot.
I was going to say, do we know what the equivalent of that is today?
How many bananas could I buy with that today?
A lot of money.
I don't know.
At least 3. Anyway,
At least 3 money.
but yeah, basically he just sold them along the railway tracks to grocers, green grocers in the area.
Those greengrocers often stand along railroad tracks.
But this was a man who had ambition. Let's say that to start off with.
Bananery ambition.
At this point, he thought, I've got a lot of money. I'm going to buy a steamship and go to Honduras. And so he did.
As every entrepreneur does.
He did. He bought a steamship, went to Honduras. In 1910, he bought 5,000 acres of land along this particular river called the Coyamel River. He was starting to get quite heavily into debt at this point, even despite his money.
What did he do with the 100,000? How expensive was the ship?
Well, you got to have the best
Actually, to
ship
be
there
honest,
is.
the land's probably
It's
more
probably
expensive.
he did add even more land, so it's probably about 10,000 when he ended up. But 10,000 acres of land is probably quite pricey.
Yeah, you know when your mind does the running thing of like, no, it's the other thing that's more expensive.
That's one hell of a steamship.
That's not.
1,000 acres of ship.
Basically, at the time, Honduras and hello, Corby, you right?
I found it. $100,000 in 1910 is worth 2.6 million today.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he did well.
A millionaire of banana scale.
The banana trade, son. No, anyway,
Invest in the bananas.
at the time, Honduras and Nicaragua were in place. They were trying to reschedule their sovereign debt, their country debt, basically, because obviously they're quite up to the US, and basically Zamora was worried because he was worried that Honduras was going to double down on the taxing and tax everyone out to hell, especially him because he was an American businessman, so he was worried to get taxed out of business. He appealed to Knox, to this guy called Philander C. Knox, who was the Secretary of State at the time. First name Philander. Philander.
God, I love early 20th century American names. They're the best.
Oh, you're gonna fucking love this. Basically, he was worried he got taxed. So he appealed to Knox for help. Knox said no. So he came back to New Orleans. He'd been already working in the banana industry for quite a while at this point, but he knew something about what was back in New Orleans. He knew the original deposed president of Honduras, Manuel Bonilla, was living there. So he went back to him and talked to him. Basically said, "Hey, how would you like to run Honduras again?" Yeah, all right. And
how will you fund this endeavor? Wow.
Banana.
But then basically what he did was he contracted a lot of mercenaries, Samu did, including two guys called Guy Machine Gun Maloney and self-proclaimed General Lee Christmas. These were some good boys. I'll put
Oh my god.
Analyze that first one. General Lee Machine Gun Maloney.
No, it's General Guy Maloney. I put a picture of General Lee
Guy
Christmas
Machine Gun
in the
Maloney.
Discord chat. I put a picture of Lee Christmas.
Wow, he looks like Herman Goering.
We don't hear much about Guy Machine Gun Maloney, but they basically altogether devised a plan to overthrow the Honduran government. So Zamora smuggled him back to Honduras. I'm not sure whether he did it in the steam ship or not. But
He did it inside a big banana peel.
It does say
in a
he
banana-shaped crate.
He did say he brought a ship full of weapons, full of American weaponry. And,
all the ammo cartridges are hidden in bananas.
I was going to say they're all just painted yellow.
They sail them over on banana boats, of course.
All the dinghies are for abandoning ship are just banana boats.
Bonilla was successfully returned to power in a military coup.
Oh, damn.
I believe Lee Christmas was put in charge of the army. He was, let's see, Central America. Let's see. No, he became a. Yeah, he was General Lee Christmas for a while. But yeah, he was an interesting guy. Anyway, yes, but then basically Bonilla was back in charge of Honduras, and obviously him being there in charge and Zamora getting the Samuel Zamora there. Sorry, forgot to say, Samuel Zamura's his initial name when he started selling the right bananas. His nickname that stuck with him for life was Sam the Banana Man.
Sam the Banana Man. If he can't get him, no one can.
Sounds like something out of his Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah, I know. But
This is Sam the Banana Man.
Would you like some green eggs and ham? They're overripe like your bananas.
Can you imagine if you're the current president of Honduras? Sir, the Banana Man cometh, and he's bringing Machine Gun Maloney and General Christmas with him.
They're just turning up on a banana float, just on the horizon, and then you just see a wave capsize them.
Yeah, it was
Bananarama in the background.
No,
It's
It's too perfect.
he became Oh god, I just found another fact about Lee Christmas. Sorry, yeah, he became a general of Honduras for a while. There, he says here, perhaps to assert his toughness or to intimidate the natives, Christmas had been known to chew on glass. What the hell is this man?
How do you chew on glass?
Carefully, I don't.
Carefully.
Very soft glass.
Is
it just sand that he's claimed he's chewed down from glass?
Into glass.
But yeah, this was in the. This was in the 1900s. This is early 1900s. And because Manila was now back in power, he gave massive land concessions to Zamora and low taxes, saved his business, and basically he made the company that was now called Coyamel Fruit after the Coyamel River grew massively. Took a lot.
Can we just say, as plans to save a business go, that is extreme.
It's extreme, but it works.
But it works.
Capitalism, ho!
I like how it works. It's not stupid.
But I like how this all could have been stopped if the Secretary of State Philander C. Knox could have just gone, yeah, all right, we'll give you some tax rebate.
Basically, he got turned down for a loan, so cooed the country.
Yeah, he did.
On a scale of 0 to this, how well do you handle rejection?
I'm gonna go with -5.
Wait, not -10. -5 is the bar before you coup people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's -10?
Genocide.
Okay.
Yeah. The funny thing is, when it comes to the big player in the area was still the United Fruit Company. There was the Coyamel Fruit Company, United Fruit Company, and I believe there was another one called Standard Fruit Company.
Can anyone else imagine there being an anime from this?
They're really... Yes.
Especially with names like Lee Christmas and...
Sam the Banana Man.
Guy Machine Gun.
Guy Machine Gun, yeah.
But despite the Coyamel Fruit Company doing this fantastic, interesting thing, the United Fruit Company was still the big boy in the area. In fact, it was actually known among the Honduran people as El Pulpo, or the octopus, because it was so far-reaching to society.
Oh. There's no weird story behind it.
No, it's just because its influence pervades Honduran society. It's
it's got tentacles everywhere.
Like El Pulpo.
El Pulpo, welcome.
Yep. Basically, they manipulated laws so. When it comes to Honduras and Guatemala and places like that, all the laws were basically manipulated so that it turned from people farming bananas on their own land to farm bananas on someone else's land for piss all money and being taxed to high heaven. The whole country pretty much turned into a company, these companies essentially ran these countries for decades, and it got to the point where. They controlled the transport, they controlled the railways, they controlled the post office, they controlled the government, they controlled everything. But goddamn, the Unites love those bananas. They really want them. So let's gonna let the banana train roll.
Marnie's bananas.
But yeah, it was. It's basically they and because I think that they excluded the national debt from being international capital couldn't be put into it, so other countries couldn't basically put money into it. So it meant that the only way you're getting money was the bananas. That's it. Deal with it.
Basically, monopolized the entire export money making of the country into one fruit.
Yeah, and they also changed the currency to the US dollar. As I said,
I was really hoping you were going to say bananas.
No. As I said, General Lee Christmas became commander of the Honduran army, and later was appointed U.S. consul to the Republic of Honduras. Jesus.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wow. I feel like we should do an episode on him at some point.
On Lee Christmas.
Just imagine him, it's just the U.S. consul.
I like how I think
he's. To scare people.
I was gonna say, I like how he started off as a background character, and now we're more interested inLee Christmas than the original
He's
guy.
another Inquisitor Conrad.
This is only part of the story of Samuel Samuli. It's fine. Are
we building our own team force? We've got Grand Inquisitor Conrad and Lee Christmas now.
I knew
Guy Machine Gun.
Yep. But Samuel Zamora wasn't done there. Basically, in 1930, he sold his company Coyamel Fruit to United Fruit Company for $31.5 million in stock and retired.
Damn.
Oof.
But 1930, basically. the United Fruit Company massively suffered because of mismanagement. It was going down the pot, financially because of just mismanagement and the Great Depression. And its stock declined in value by 90% after they acquired Koyamo.
Jesus.
Yes. But basically, what happened was Samuel Zamori, he had a plan. What happened was
Did he buy it back?
He bought all the stock, became the control investor, and in a hostile takeover became the chief owner of United Fruit Company.
God, it was a ruse. It was all a ruse.
He was playing the long game.
He reorganized the company, decentralized decision making, everything. So he basically and then made it profitable again.
Jesus Christ.
Samuel Zamora, the Banana Man.
The Banana Man coming.
Damn Sam, the Banana Man.
Yeah, and basically, and he continued that way for the next 20 years, something like that. And
he kept selling and hostile takeover.
He just made the company even more massive.
Oh,
and,
he just basically made it efficient as well.
And it was like the United Fruit Company at the kind of thing where it just like how much do they it says here that bloody it's found in it's basically they had 80% of the banana import business in the United States for a good long while.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, they were basically, it says here, by the 1930s, the company owned 3.5 million acres of land in Central America and the Caribbean and was the single largest landowner in Guatemala.
Bloody hell. So they must have owned what, like
everything?
20-30% of the land or something, or more?
Yes, probably. Yes, something similar.
Ridiculous.
But
When they said largest, I was putting them at over 50.
There was a
Yeah.
mild hiccup with the Great Banana Strike of 1934, where there was a big trade union thing, but they dealt with that. But basically, that was the start. That was the start of trade unions in Costa Rica and the like. The labor. Yeah, but they basically most of the time the United Fruit Company just refused to negotiate with strikers. I assume they just
take
gave
your bananas away.
I assume they just gave General Christmas a call, and
just Jingle Bell starts playing, and a helicopter comes over the
Is that the sound of Jingle Bells?
And it's just
no, I
the
think it's the
sleigh.
sound of chewing glass. Oh no, it's General Christmas. Jing jing. And basically what happened was there was, near the end of it, basically in the 50s, Guatemala basically was had a president called Jacobo Arbenz Guzman, who had actually been elected and was trying to make the country, actually better for his people. That utter bastard. Anyway.
We all know what happens to those people.
Yeah, no, what happened was, throughout the, basically, throughout
poisoning.
from like
slowly over time.
He was basically trying to get labour laws in and trying to take more land back from the United Fruit Company and just trying to make life better for people. So what the United Fruit Company did in the 50s, they basically went, "Oh, Mr. Truman, there's something going on in South America." He's like, it's fine. No, but what if it's communist stuff? It's no, it's fine. It's probably okay. It's probably okay. And then Eisenhower came in 1953, and he went, and the United Fruit Company was like, there's definitely some trade unions down here. It's probably communism. And Eisenhower went, "Communism!" and immediately invaded. And pretty much the 1954 Guatemalan coup d'etat, which they used. Of course, the CIA was involved. They deposed.
Wasn't that like their first? Was that their first or one of their first attempted coups or something?
I mean, it was definitely one of the most successful. Because it installed a military dictatorship. They called it Operation Success to start with. So I mean, Eisenhower does certain things wrong with it.
They were determined.
So I had to report that Operation Success was a total failure.
I was. Can you imagine that timeline?
Operation Success. Otherwise, we're going to look like total dickheads by naming it this.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that timeline?
But to be fair, Zamora had retired just before this in 1951. But he was just. He had all the money in the bloody world. He was completely fine. He only died. I think he died in 1961 back in America.
In a banana-related incident.
Back in New Orleans.
Some say he slipped on a peel.
Although, funnily enough, his daughter became the director of the National Museum of Costa Rica, and basically did all the good museum stuff for them. So, no, it's and yeah, they did a coup, and what happened was until pretty much the 90s, it was back and forth military backed dictatorship, occasional elected leader, military dictatorship for Guatemala. It was a bad time for everyone involved, and just kind of. To be fair, the guy they put in charge the first time, Colonel Carlos Castillo Armas, he was only there for 3 years till he got shot by a presidential guard.
Should have.
But yeah,
Wouldn't have happened to Lee Christmas.
This did kind of kick off the mixed elected presidents and puppet master of military juntas. Basically, kicked off the 36-year-long Guatemalan civil war. So
I didn't know they had a civil war.
No,
I guess the banana split.
Yeah, and basically this.
Oh my god!
I've been waiting for a long time to slip that in somehow.
And
Slip.
In the late 80s to early 90s, they started getting towards more actual democracy again. Because the Guatemalan Civil War only ended in 96.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have a date?
Same year that most of you were born. But yeah. So bananas.
Bananas.
Yeah. The key
Permanently immortalized in the Worms games.
But yeah. But Samuel Zamora was a very interesting fellow.
Oh god.
And the funny thing is, United Fruit are still going today. They rebranded. They're Chiquita Banana.
Oh god.
Which is the famous, which is the very famous
I'm half
fruit
tempted
company.
to go downstairs and check what bananas I have.
Yeah, Chiquita Brands International. The Standard Fruit became the Dole Food Company, who are still out and about.
The Dole Food Company.
Dole, D-O-L-E.
All right.
I would not buy
they
Dole
went from
Food.
Standard Fruit to Dole Food. They're really having a bad time picking a name.
To be fair, Matt, you might have some Dole fruit downstairs because they are the largest producer of fruit and vegetables in the world.
I think we do.
They were standard fruits. They were less bastards, but still bastards.
They were standard bastards.
Basically, the thing is, if you go, basically, they got out of it absolutely fine. Honduras and Guatemala place obviously still pretty bad. Costa Rica's not great. Yeah, so the secret of good business is just
Good
hostile
business.
takeover.
And get a guy called Christmas on your side.
To quote Pirates of the Caribbean, it is just good business.
If you're ever worried about your economy, just buy a steamship and go to Honduras.
I like that we've got essentially an Ocean's 11-esque team is coming together now. You've got Sam the Banana Man as the business front. You've got Guy Machine Gun and Lee Christmas as the muscle, and you've got Inquisitor Conrad.
If we can get multiple pictures of these guys, I'll put them as the banner for the YouTube thing. Just leave me up there.
Did you put Lee Christmas or Guy Machine Gun in the chat?
That was Lee Christmas.
Guy Christmas. Sorry, Lee Christmas.
Lee Christmas looks like a young Hermann Goering.
I mean, he looks like he's just a good young boy. He's fine. He's all right.
Oh god.
But yeah, no, it's God, it's just it's talking about them just basically using U.S. Army surplus Colt Model 1995 machine guns.
Oh my god. I feel like they deserve their
Wait,
own...
what the hell? Oh, it says here. Sorry, just a quick follow-up on Lee Christmas before we end this. The tactical use of machine guns have become standard practice in the First World War. Bonilla resumed the presidency of Honduras with Christmas as his military commander, but Bonilla's sudden death in 1913 forced Christmas into exile once more. For the next 10 years, reports surfaced of Christmas being seen throughout Latin America. It may be that Zamora invoked the threat of an appearance by Christmas to intimidate recalcitrant clients.
Make him sound like Che Guevara.
It says his presence in the Mexican Revolution as an aide to Emiliano Zapata is impossible to confirm. They can't confirm, but they can't deny he was part of it.
Oh my god!
And then he basically
Lee Christmas is a ghost. Confirmed.
He eventually got tuberculosis and returned to Louisiana and died in New Orleans one day before the 13th anniversary of his victory at La Ceiba. In the New York Times article remembering was titled "General Lee Christmas, a Dumas hero in real life." What a hero!
Oh wow!
Yeah, Lee Christmas. the ghost of Honduras, I guess, or ghost of Guatemala. That's really weird. So yeah,
I
that's
reckon
my.
a ghost and an inquisitor would get on.
These were my fruit facts.
Maybe we can try to exercise them.
Yeah.
It's like Civil War, but the first meeting they have.
I love my notes. I love my notes here. Is just like bought by Unit Fruit in 1930, who had then a hostile takeover by the Banana Man. It's accurate. Yes.
Well, I am
not-
bringing also an interesting person to the table.
Ooh.
I aim to up last time's episode. We're veering away from France now and away from Charles de Gaulle. Though coincidentally, my factual story does start with an assassination.
Oh God.
Keeping the theme going. The year was 1888, and young farmer Billy Miles stepped into a local store run by a Mr. Kinney. After a brief confrontation, he proceeded to shoot Kinney 3 times in the chest. What followed was a massive local funeral for the deceased Mr. Kinney and a manhunt for Miles that left a sheriff and a bounty hunter dead 1 year later.
When was this?
This was all despite him being let off the hook
1888.
previously. So,
I also just love the idea, like the search for Miles, as in both the person and they looked for fucking ever.
He's gone. We'll look for Miles. Yeah, that's the point.
this story doesn't cover Billy Miles or the year-long manhunt for him, for that is how this story ends. Instead, we're going to talk about Mr. Kinney.
You bait and switch motherfucker.
It's Lee Christmas all over again.
Who was this man whose death would warrant such events, such a vast manhunt and a massive local funeral?
I mean, I just assumed the manhunt was just because, like, he was shot, and you should always bring criminals to justice.
Well, Tom, you'll be surprised as to why that manhunt occurred when I tell you some facts down in a minute. So, many people have debated this theory of why Mr. Kinney caused such events, or his death rather. He didn't plan this out.
His ghost went whispering into the law enforcement, like, "Hey, you should do a man."
How are you spelling his surname, out of curiosity?
Mr. Kinney. Kinney is spelled Kinney.
Right,
And
okay.
Mr. Kinney was actually known as Nate Kinney, and he was captain of the renowned and feared Taney County vigilante group, the Bald Knobbers.
I'm just going to Google that.
All right, we found our Nick Fury for our collection of people. Mr. Kinney.
The Bald Knobbers, eh?
The Bald Knobbers.
Hopefully this doesn't come up with anything too bad. Oh no, they're right there.
Wait till he's like, if you can find a picture of Mr. Kinney, like Nate Kinney, and the Bald Knobber masks are amazing.
I can see the faces. What the fuck? Okay, I'm not going to spoil it. That's good, dude.
Oh, so our story begins in Ozark, Missouri, in the town of Forsyth in Taney County. Since the end of the American Civil War, it had become I'll start that again. Since the end of the American Civil War, it had become a local. I can't read my fucking writing.
We'll cut this. Just start again.
Yeah, we'll cut this. So, our story begins in Ozark, Missouri, in the town of Forsyth in Taney County. Since the end of the American Civil War, the land had become just covered in bands of outlaws, roving gangs of marauders, like a real no man's land kind of situation. Like, you know, that stereotypical, borderland territory, or a stereotypical thing of when like a war's happened and all the troops leave to other front lines, and you know there's no local law presence essentially. Even though the Civil War finished, neighbor versus neighbor conflict regularly occurred because basically I think Missouri was right on the line between Confederate and Union, so right on the borderline. So you basically had people batting for both sides.
Yeah.
I imagine that just caused more conflict as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a border state during it. Yeah, it was just.
It was a massive shit show. Bushwhacking was commonplace, which I can only assume means they leapt out of bushes and whacked people.
Yeah, it's a type of guerrilla warfare. It's literally just Jump them.
And timber, which was the main local export, was regularly stolen. And this irked quite a lot of people, as a lot of people's livelihoods revolved around the cutting down and selling of timber. You had lots of aliens, as they were termed, coming in, squatting, stealing the timber and stuff like that. Whole mess.
I know that you don't
A lot of
mean
greys just came by
green
and
men from outer space, but that is what I'm picturing.
Cut down aliens,
ET, he's stealing my logs.
There's one of them little green bastards.
kindling.
There's one of them little green bastards. Yeah.
at least we all agreed it wasn't the tall whites that came in and stole all the.
No, the tall whites were the one cooking the wood.
Yeah, they came in. They were already there, weren't they?
They were already there. There was no one there before the tall whites.
Disclaimer, though, they are one of like the big alien races that people believe to exist.
Did Matt just say there was no one there before the tall whites? Did Matt just deny Native Americans' existence?
That was the joke. Thank you for the save, Corby.
Cool.
They're also sometimes called the Nordics, unless they're a different set of aliens entirely. But that's by the by.
Now, going briefly back/forward to the year-long manhunt for Billy Miles and why it might come as a surprise. Before then, between the years of 1865 and 1885, there were 40+ recorded murders. Take a guess at how many of the people were convicted.
Like 3.
2.
1.
0.
What happens now?
Not a single man.
Happy New Year!
Oh my god, a rocket's taken off.
Not a single one of the people arrested was convicted. This was mainly due to clan ties, and like a lot of the gangs basically had bribed officials or had somebody in a position of power who was related for them, and therefore always got that person on, like, as the judge or whatever for the trial to get their relative off.
Oh, right, yeah.
A lot of corruption going deep.
Nepotism.
So corrupt. Like, there was pretty much no law enforcement at this time. To put it bluntly, it was basically a hellish shithole of just continual violence and murder.
Like the Borderlands.
Like the Borderlands.
Oh,
So,
like that weird
With less
theme park from
memes.
Pinocchio.
yeah, basically. So, enter our hero, Nate N. Kinney. A mountain of a man, Nate Kinney stood at 6'6" and weighed 300 pounds, with rippling muscles and a dapper mustache.
Was
This-
he
this
the one
man-
flexing on the side of the road?
This man is amazing.
Ooh,
Like,
that's a tall drink of water.
he has. Like, I will find a picture for you now. It is amazing. He is like your stereotypical strongman.
Oh,
Like,
God.
you know when you think of those classic pictures.
Yeah.
There we go. Copy.
Wait, was his middle name Napoleon?
I think it might be. Yes.
Oh my.
Okay, I've just posted a picture. Oh, it's in the message text. Damn it. Never mind. I copied the wrong thing.
That's all right.
There
I'll
you
just get this picture. Oh, you got it. Go.
Yep.
That mustache, though.
That
That is a big
Mustache,
man.
Like,
Yeah.
Look at him. Majestic specimen of a man.
He's like 2/3 trousers.
Oh.
He really is like 60% leg. Not. The first thing I saw was the mustache, and then John pointed out the leg thing, and I can't not see it.
He crosses the road by just doing one big step.
Listen, if you Google Nate N. Kinney, he's the first picture in Google Images.
Yeah. Well, be warned, he might just show up saying something about bald knobbers, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, he is the head of the Bald Knobbers.
He is.
Nate
That's an
was
insult.
considered to be fearless and charismatic. Was just one of many who met in the Forsyth Journal store in 1883 with the presumption of setting up some kind of committee or process in order to help combat the issues surrounding their town and county. And they elected him captain of the Law and Order League. They did not come up with the name Bald Knobbers. Bald Knobbers was applied later.
I was gonna say I like how his solution to this gang warfare is to create his own gang to fight
yeah.
all the other gangs.
Gang
That's
warfare.
how that works.
The only thing that
You
can
can't-
defeat a gang
you
is
can't
another bigger
win.
gang, I tell you.
You can't win if you don't play the game.
That is true.
Well,
It's all about the game and how you play it.
initially, it wasn't so much of a gang and vigilante as it became. It was more a grouping of what they considered reputable people in the village. So carpenters,
Avengers.
farmers, no, Avengers. I think there was a lawyer, teachers, like fairly reputable jobs for the time and the area.
Yeah.
Kinney set about taking the role very seriously. He rapidly formed a team of 13 accomplices and set out to right the wrongs wrought upon their county.
This means only something to me, but he's formed his 13 darknesses to combat the 7 lights. It's a Kingdom Hearts thing, I'm sorry.
Oh, God. So...
This man is literally Xehanort.
Oh, dear. Well, initially, Kinney and his group set about acquiring public offices, essentially to rebuild the town. So ousting the corrupt, trying to oust the corrupt officials and stuff, and do it by legitimate means. This did not work that successfully, and Kinney, who had actually been quite active on the Union side in the American Civil War, I think he saw a bit of combat. Decided
Union man.
It was
To be fair, if I saw him on the
take
combat field, I'd fucking leave. I'm like, there's no way I'm beating that man.
Like,
Look at his legs. He'd kick me to death.
with 2
He
strides.
could kick me from like 3 feet away.
If only it had been in Pickett's charge, the Confederacy may have won.
Sorry, I just had an image of just like a gunfight. It's like draw. There's a boot in the chest.
Oh. It wasn't long, though, before Kinney decided that a more aggressive and physical approach was going to be needed to remove these gangs of marauders and bandits. So they started taking on more members and started meeting up on the bald knobs of the Ozark Mountains, hence the name. It wasn't long before Kinney actually amassed a sizable group of well over 100 members, which in a county of 7,000 people is a lot. Like, that is, what? So, like, nearly a percentage? Probably round about a percentage of the...
What was, 40 out of 7,000, did you say?
He basically had over 1% of the population in his gang.
Oh,
It
right,
was
the gang, yeah.
7,000 people with 100 members.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yep.
that's over.
1.5%.
Yeah.
1.5% of the entire county was a bald
With some generous
knob.
It's
rounding.
pretty much exactly 1.5%, actually. Yeah, it's pretty good, yeah.
Kinney began organising into districts with their own captains to operate in smaller areas and be more efficient. So, I have entitled this next segment, The Nobbening. What exactly did the bald knobbers do?
Knob.
Au contraire, Tom, they did no such thing. The knobbers were actually surprisingly strictly moral, and one of the big things they did was actually start chasing out loose women and men of ill repute who beat their wives. And the main reason, or the main way rather, that they would do this was they would don on these horned hoods with white fabric around the eyes and mouth. Which, if you can see a picture of them, oh my god!
I'm dropping a
If these
picture right
came
now
at
in the
you
chat.
they look like shit Donnie Darkos.
Holy fuck, they do.
Those are some masks, alright.
Oh, I've opened the original.
Oh,
Yep, they are.
Why the... I have no words.
in these shit Donnie Darko masks, the bald knobbers would descend on homes of ill repute and leave behind a bundle of sticks before fleeing into the night on mules and horses.
Oh no, a kindling delivery. We have to leave, children. What?
So
It was a threat before they came back the next day to light the kindling.
Tom has it pretty much bang on.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
So
But
initially,
that gives them plenty of time to just move the kindling.
Can you imagine if you've never been to Missouri in your life, and you just turn up, you're staying at someone's house, and then just some kindling is just left outside. You see a mule go off the distance, and then so, oh no, the bald knobbers have been here. You're just like, what is this place?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
I'm not sure how much of an effect the bundles initially had. And basically, when the bundles of kindling didn't work, they would turn to verbally warning or physically frightening individuals away. And if they still remained after that, they gave them a right knobbing with said sticks.
This is like a Scooby-Doo villain plot on a huge scale.
It's a whodunit where
Dressing up in weird masks and spooking villages.
Oh, needless to say, after they started scaring off like several of the undesirables, the reputation became strong enough that the bundles of sticks were enough to make people leave. That's warning of like, if you don't go, we're gonna come back and take these sticks and beat you up with them.
You see, at that point, what I do is I just take advantage of that and just put a bundle of sticks on the neighbour's like porch that I didn't like, and they just leave.
Once again, John. Once again, you are ahead of me. Once they'd started earning a reputation, they started physically going after the corrupt officials and law enforcement and adulterers. And basically, within a couple of years, they were running Taney County. Like, there was still no proper law enforcement because they'd scared it off, essentially, because it's all corrupt. And they were essentially the de facto government of that area. But as John so readily pointed out, nobbing did decline in terms of moral.
I was wondering what the title was going to be, but I've just found it.
Nobbing will decline. That's fantasy spoke.
We've lost the moral centre of nobbing. What are we to do?
I don't know. I don't know if this is a thing. I was gonna say I don't know if this is a thing outside of the UK, but nobbing is definitely a slang term for sex.
It is.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's just like a UK thing or
it's a UK thing.
It's a very UK term. I feel like knob.
I think it got changed from slang words because it was in use. Nobbing was in use in 1828, so before the bald knob was even a thing. But I don't think it was an American slang term for sex.
That's the thing, because I know where the bald came from, because they apparently held their meetings on top of a bald mountaintop, which makes sense. They're up on the balls.
They were knobs on top of the mountain.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
The bald mountain knobs. They weren't being knobs on the mountain.
I imagine they were.
Look up that. There's some knobs up on the mountain. Oi, knobheads. Get down!
What should we call this mountain range? I don't know. There's knobs on it. Cool, Knob Mountain.
Suck it up.
Oh, yes. But the quality of nobbing did decline.
I like how we can't even say it anymore.
It just hurts.
It wasn't long before the bald knobbers themselves started to become corrupt. Not Kinney specifically and his original group. The original group remained quite loyal to the initial cause and tried to reel in some of the extremism. But, out of anything, the more people you get on board, the more fractures become apparent, the harder it is to govern it. And soon there was a very big divide, like a big fracture within the society as people became morally driven Bible bashers to the extreme, or as John pointed out, either committed crimes and blamed them on gangs, or used the bald knobber reputation to, remove people they didn't like, get claim on land, that kind of thing.
I'm still laughing at committing extremist nobbing. It's just broken me. Fuck's sake. This is not okay.
Don't want to come across as prude, but this nobbing's a little too extreme for me.
Should I not talk about the branding then?
No, you have to. You have to. It's part of it.
Just before you got, I read on one of the articles I was reading that it got so bad that essentially they started beating and branding people in some of the more extreme aspects of the group. It essentially ended up breaking the group in half, with Kinney and his original followers going one way, and the other group that sparked off into...
It's Bald Knobbers Civil War.
Yeah, no, there isn't. They were called, they were split into multiple groups, one of which was an extremist, essentially, Bible bashing sect called the Christian County chapter, which was moved to the next county over, and I've just called them the Church Knobbers. And they were really bad in terms of just physical
Knobbing
violence
the church
and stuff like that. The other group was actually named the Anti-Knobbers.
Even though they were the original Knobbers.
Well, the original Knobbers remained the Bald Knobbers, and the group
Right.
that split from Kinney were called the Anti-Bald Knobbers.
Ah.
A
Yeah.
lot of knobbers going around.
A lot of knobbers going around. It got so bad that essentially, at one point, a group of them broke into the Taney County Jail, kidnapped two brothers who had done I didn't find out what crime they'd done, but they took them out and they hung them publicly, like, which was just not a, you didn't do that. They were already in jail, but they should be killed and hung in public.
I feel that's a thing that only happened to American, like the lynching after they've been in jail. I've heard that a couple of times. And I get it, but I don't get it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's just essentially, you started getting a knobber civil war, if you will, where bald knobbers and anti-bald knobbers were like openly fighting on the streets, would interrupt other people's ceremonies and activities.
I love the idea of an anti-bald knobber as just a knobber with hair.
Many of the anti-bald numbers were members who didn't like Kinney or just wanted the knobbers gone, so they joined up because the bald nubbers had started causing trouble, not realizing that elements of the anti-bald knobbers were responsible for their trouble. It was an absolute mess.
Yeah. It's hard to get the right sort of propaganda to get people on your side when everyone's named after the knobbers.
It does say here a lot of the anti-bald knobbers also had in turn supported the Confederacy. It was a bit of a a bit of a split there.
You're steps ahead of me, stop it.
God damn it! I'm sorry. I'll cut me.
It went back to the neighbor-on-neighbor conflict before, where Confederate and Union sympathies were brought up again, and it was just a whole lot of problem. It became too much with just all these clashes. So, in steps Governor John S. Marmaduke.
Oh, I love him.
And in the Adjutant General J.C. Jameson to bring order. So off went J.C. Jameson all the way down to little old Forsyth, and basically when he turned up, he basically separated or ceased the violence temporarily, and spoke with Kinney, who was still largely in charge of his group. And Kinney agreed to step down and disband the bald knobbers, in a public ceremony, to show that law and order is here now. He got what he wanted. They were actually paying attention, because by this point in like I think it was 1886, 87, they were so prolific that they had national and in some cases worldwide attention on them. Like it was that bad. So basically, now that the sheriff and people had just turned up, Kenny was like, "Cool, all right, fine. We'll simmer down. We'll go our separate ways." We
don't need the Avengers anymore. I am seeing a lot of parallels, is all I'm saying.
This didn't result in the disbanding of the anti-bald knobbers. The anti-bald knobbers kind of went a bit underground, kind of like Hydra. And people who were previously bald knobbers would still fight with the anti-bald knobbers, but because there was law and order there now, it wasn't so prevalent. Same can't be said for the church knobbers in the next county over, who continued their violent ways to the point where they all got arrested, while most of them were let off on a charge. The ringleaders were all hung, essentially. So that kind of put a stop to it. Just a brief decade of vigilante justice in America.
The decade of knobbers.
I mean, that'll do it.
The decade of knobbing. Which brings us roundabout full circle back to the start of the story, where in 1888 Kinney was in his store, and Billy Miles, who had anti-bald knobber sympathies, came in and unfortunately killed Mr. Kinney. That's unfortunately where the story ends, of the wild knobbing ride. It was surprisingly hard, again, to find concrete information without buying books on this topic, because a lot of it, there wasn't a lot of it was written down, because you just didn't have people recording it at that time. So a lot of it's hearsay and rumor and stuff.
All the timber got stolen, so there was no logs to make paper from.
Exactly.
To write down all of this.
I have no illusions that the bald knobbers probably did a lot of worse shit than I mentioned. In terms of I'm sure they murdered people and stuff like that. But that wasn't in the spirit of things.
Oof. Yeah, I feel like we need better reactions other than oof.
Oh yeah, Kinney's assassination basically came because of instilled resentment towards him and what he did, and people just didn't like him. But yeah, his funeral got national coverage, and basically resulted in a full clampdown on American vigilante gangs. So I'm going to round off with some facts about nobbing, which do not involve nobbing as the English slang term.
Nobbing in the Vigilante years.
Nobbing in the Vigilante.
An autobiography.
So, as I said, nobbing has been in use as early as 1825 in terms of colloquial usage. I don't know if that was just in the UK or in America as well, and differentiating slang terms. I couldn't find that. But
He didn't want to Google nobbing.
yeah,
Is basically what it boiled down to.
but in America, presumably in and around the Missouri area and the place it occurred, they've started doing pageants and parades that feature bald knobber masks and iconography, which I'm assuming is celebrating their heritage and not a weird sexual flotation. I was going to say flotation device.
It depends on the person.
I mean, it can be both.
Probably both. I think it's a celebration of heritage. And,
What a weird Macy's Day that was.
I didn't find any dates on it, unfortunately. But I think, I guess it's like people celebrating the positive aspects of it and whatnot. I did also find out that there's a couple of documentaries and at least one 2017 movie called I think it's called The Bald Knobbers, or Bald Knobbers. It's got about a 5.5 rating on IMDb.
Oof.
Kinney himself, some facts on Kinney. After he finished in the Union, before he moved to Forsyth and started the Bald Knobbers, he built a large house by himself where he raised new breeds of sheep, cattle, and dogs.
He does look like the kind of man who would build his own house.
Apparently, it was like quite big. Like we're talking like a mansion.
It would have to be to fit him.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to build your own house, otherwise you're not going to get through any of the bloody doors. I mean, that's...
And it turns out there were actually, much like Charles de Gaulle, there were actually multiple assassination attempts on Kinney. But rather than just constantly failing, they kept getting the wrong guy.
How? He's massive! Look for the big bugger.
Just looking in the...
They're so confused.
I love how they're just looking in a crowd. I like, well, which one do you reckon he is? And there's clearly just one individual stood like an extra
whole head over the wreck.
6 inches.
Can you just imagine, like, him going across a group of bald knobbers, and they're all in the masks, like, oh no, which one is it? They're all wearing a mask. There's that one guy who's like a head taller than everyone else, mustache poking out from the mask. I don't know, who is it?
It just blew my mind.
He's blended in with the crowd.
He did the Assassin's Creed thing where he just put a hood up and put his hands together.
I was going to say it's more like the Metal Gear thing where he's just hidden under a box.
Just a really big... He's just got a box on his head. It's too small to cover him.
Well, even then, that's just like... Okay, so all these people are wearing masks and then there's one man here with a cardboard box.
Oh god! Also, when I was just thinking about just the masks and stuff, my mind couldn't help hopping to that scene in Django where they're having a discussion about masks.
Oh yeah.
The eye holes and
Can't see through the eye holes.
Oh, but yeah. As I said, the Bald Knobber name comes from the bald peaks of the Ozark Mountains, which is where they held their secret meetings, so they could see spies coming up and stuff like that. All very secret society stuff.
I would say it was very secret since we knew where it was.
Well, yeah. And their activities became colloquially known as the Bald Knob Uprising. And that is the story of the Bald Knobbers.
Wow.
This does indeed feel like a more appropriate topic than Charles de Gaulle did.
Yeah. Surprisingly hard to make the assassination of a French president funny.
I think that's just your inbuilt Britishness trying to take jabs at the French.
Clearly. I mean, I thought it was interesting, but it was very much more interesting researching the Bald Knobbers.
This story had all of our built-in Britishness just laughing at the word knob for almost the whole story.
If you want Matt to research better, please, I don't know, send us some fucking money. You can buy books then.
Are you saying this wasn't well researched? How dare you?
I'm not, but you said it was mostly in books, which we can't afford.
There were a couple of articles online. I actually found a video which inspired this on YouTube, where he was talking. The guy was talking about vigilante groups, and he mentioned the Bald Knob, and was like, "That's too good not to research." But yeah, it's just maybe I should start picking options which have a bit more information out there.
Fair enough.
It's like a habit of mine because I wasn't much out on the Pope cat war.
No, but that was also just great as well.
Yeah. God.
Well, I think that's everything we have time for on Fact Vs Fiction this week. I have been Matt, and as always joined by Tom, and John.
That one, me.
I am a John.
Yeah, pointing on the things. I don't know why I reintroduced ourselves at the end, but it doesn't matter.
Me.
In case they forget.
We've never done that in any other episode.
No. Me and Tom have Twitters, if you want to follow us.
Yeah.
And
They will hopefully be in the YouTube descriptions.
Yep, for those of you not watching this on YouTube, there is a YouTube channel where you can, if you prefer to watch it or listen to it there, then on
Literally, it's Fact Vs Fiction. So.
This is episode 6. We do have 5 other episodes.
Is this episode 5 and the other one's the first special?
I don't know.
We'll organize
I've labeled it as
episode.
5 in the red
relabel episode 5 as like special episode 1 or something. It doesn't matter.
Spec 1.
But as always, John, would you please make my knuckles feel tender with your fact?
Well, let's see. Cheese is the most shoplifted food in the world.
Honestly, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Isn't it as addictive?
Cheese is fucking expensive.
Also, there is a thing where like tomatoes
rant again.
tomatoes are native to the Americas. So Italy didn't get them until the 16th century, which means, is it tomato? And are we wrong?
No.
I never thought I'd see the time Tom has a breakdown, but yes. Anyway, good night, everybody.